Hello guys, I am just doing a quick video for this bit of hardware, the ClonerAlliance Flint 4KP Plus. It's been out for a little while and I've seen quite a few videos of it, and I wasn't going to make this video, but there is a bit of an issue that I wanted to cover with this kit. Not going to get into the spec of it. Here's the box obviously, and I pop out the unit here for you to see. It is a small unit, although the box is rather large. The key thing about this is that it is a 4K pass-through, so it's kind of future-proofing your abilities to record the next gen of gaming hardware. PS5 will probably be my take. It does capture at a 1080p 60 frames per second, and it can obviously go lower than that as well. I actually like the unit. It is a metallic material rather than the plastic boxes that most of these similar kits you will find. It does get rather warm whilst it's running. However, I have had it running for several hours, constantly recording, and it's not caught fire yet, which is a good sign. You can see the little holes on the side there work quite well, I guess, to let air through. And now I will move on to the downside of that, and which is the software that's included. You get these two programs, Mp4 Cloner and the HDML Cloner Pro Helper. So first off, the Mp4 Cloner, that is basically a very light editing software. Here you can see trim, combine, convert, and burn. Very, very basic. In fact, so basic that when you actually apply and use these, it downgrades your recording. So you'll see artifacts, you'll lose resolution. I do not recommend using this. And then the actual helper here, which is the recorder and live streamer, very basic as well. Here is literally the options that you have for capturing. Can't do any color correction or anything else like that. It's literally where you're going to save it, and you can only record in MP4 format, and there's only a couple of those to select. No other details. So here we're going to get onto some gameplay here, which a lot of the videos that I've seen on this unit don't cover so much. So this is PS4, obviously it's Horizon. And this is running with the helper, the associated software you get free with this device. However, saying that, the device is quite expensive, so I would have appreciated some decent software, which you do get with other units, other brands. So immediately you might think this is quite dark, and that is my main issue with it. Now, admittedly, game time here in Horizon, it is nighttime. But you can see here I switched to use the OBS software, which is a freeware open source recording and live streaming software, and you can see straight away that it is an improvement. The color correction here, this is literally as you would see it on TV. I didn't notice this for a long time as I played and tested several games with the free software that came with the unit. So it's only after spending hours and hours of playing, after looking back on the actual footage that I was shooting, that I could see that it was very dark. So I wanted to try it on another game here, and you can see that we are again on the PS4 running both gameplays side by side. This is Unraveled, the first one. One of my favorite platformers is the sequel. I've not played much of the first one. And you can see here, you might think actually that it's not that different. If you look closely into the grass, you can see that it is a bit darker on the helper, and I think it's a contrast issue. I think you can't change this at all from what I can see in the free software, but they have a color correction which makes the footage a lot higher contrast, which I can like in some instances, but not in most. Here on the PS4, it doesn't really seem that off-putting, but I wanted this unit to record older footage, which is what we'll get into shortly. As you can see on the PS4 with OBS, you can see all the textures here, you can see everything crystal clear. However, on the helper, it's all clear still, but it is a lot darker. It pops a lot more, which is okay on the PS4, but when you start to run these lower resolution games, here we're running a PS3 Mafia 2 game, specifically just with the helper here, and it doesn't look that bad whilst things are bright. Here in the cutscene you can see that the shadows are a bit darker than you perhaps might have thought. And then the gameplay again, in the shadows, it's quite dark. In the snowy light areas, it looks okay. Here is a bit of a gunfight, and as you can see, as I take damage, you can see that the screen gets darker than you can really manage with. Again, it doesn't impact you whilst you're playing because the recording comes through quite well on the computer screen that you're using, and obviously doesn't affect the TV. But it's looking back on the footage that you see these discrepancies. So I thought I'd try it on a more darker game. Here is Metal Gear Solid 2, and I'm going to split between the helper, the included software, and OBS. As you'll see, we'll bounce back and forth. Here on the helper, that is a lot darker than now on the OSB software. You can actually see what's going on, and this really proves my point that the contrast is just set way too high. What I also found on OBS, is that I had to go into the settings and enable the color resolution to full. There was a by default it's just on basic. Enabling it to full really made it come through as if I was playing the game live. Again, it didn't really affect the live recordings, and if you're live streaming, I'm not entirely sure how it's going to come across. I'd imagine it'll come across as it's being recorded here, where it's quite dark. Especially on this Metal Gear Solid 2, you can't really see what's going on the helper. As you'll see here, as it scans to the back of this room, things are very dark, and as we switch over to the OBS software, you'll be able to see things a lot clearer. And it's really disappointing. I almost wanted to return this hardware to Amazon because it's just under £200. I would imagine that it's advertised as plug and play, which it is, but you're gonna have to look at other software to actually capture the footage because the included software just isn't up to scratch for me. Here you can see, as I was just mentioning, you can see right down to the end of the corridor here, and it's really no problems at all. This is literally as it would be on your TV screen. So now I am actually quite pleased with this bit of kit, although disappointed in the free software. That's really my main gripe. We're going to have a look at some other games here because that was obviously Metal Gear Solid 2 here is a darker one. Again, running through the first boss battle here. The cutscene, when the light's actually on, the spotlight there in the back, things look pretty good, but it's here in the shadows. You just can't see what's going on because the contrast is too high. And I don't want to keep harping onto that, but I don't think it's really that acceptable that they're giving you hardware which is game capture enabled. That's the main function, or one of two main functions, is game capture and streaming. And whilst you can do that, you're not actually getting a one-for-one recording. You're getting an altered state of footage. However, using OBS with very limited editing to the settings, literally just changing that one color palette setting in OBS corrects everything really. So a little bit disappointing. Here you can see on the helper, just trying to do this boss battle, you really can't see what's going on, or you can, but things just aren't clear. Things are too, and it's not shadows, it's just things are just too dark. Here in OBS, you can see throughout the whole of the ship, you can actually see some of the city landscape in the background there, which I don't think you could really see very clearly with the other software. So I wanted to then show you some footage that's more bright, lots of different colors going on. So this is Gran Turismo 6 again on the PS3, and like I said, if you just want this for modern day consoles, it's probably not going to be that much of a pain. This is the older stuff. So you may have noticed then, or if you click back, you'll see on the free software, you can't even see the license plate details. The shadows are just way too dark. You can't see what's going on. The grass is probably a little bit too bright for me as well. But it's really the shadows that are the problem. And I can understand why they did this. Well, I can't really. I think they obviously wanted to really make the sharp colors really pop out of the screen, which it does, but the contrast of that is just that the darks are just too high. It may look good on something like Call of Duty, where on a brighter map there's lots of blood and flashes going on, but for most games I just don't like it. Here is a PS2 game running on the PS3, but it's PS2 emulation. Simpsons Hit and Run. Again, on the helper here, it might look alright, and you think, yeah, that does look pretty good. But it's just the contrast. It's blurry for me. I find this a bit blurry. It's hard to read some of the text. It's just not as sharp and as crisp as it should be. It looks quite good in terms of the saturation. Everything's very oversaturated, which does have its benefits, because it does look quite cool and quite cartoony, quite vivid. But the darks are just too dark. It's not how the game is designed to look. As we move on to the OBS software here, and you can see straight away that everything is a lot crisper, a lot cleaner, a lot clearer. Much better, much more one-to-one as it would have been on the PS2, or in my case on the PS3. Just sticking with a bit of this footage here, because who doesn't like this game? I wanted to show a bit of the on-foot action and a bit of the vehicle action. Runs very well on the PS3, I might add, where some of the games don't emulate well. And this, as I said, was why I wanted to buy the box, was to run some of the older systems. The box itself is very straightforward. You literally plug in the input from your console, and then the output goes into the TV, and USB goes into the computer. And here again, PS1, so something else I wanted to capture. And this is running with the helper footage, Nightmare Creatures here, a dark game. And you could see what is going on, but it is a bit more blurry. Even for a PS1 game, things are a bit blurry based on the deep colors that are trying to pop off. Whereas with OBS, although still obviously dark as intended with this game, you can sort of see that it's a bit cleaner. The dark lines, and there is a lot of them, the blurriness is still there, but it's as it would be on a PS1, well, on an emulated PS1 through modern day software. So yeah, final thoughts, guys. If you couldn't summarize yourself in these last 10 minutes, I am pleased with this hardware. It's just a shame that the software included doesn't quite do the job that it sets out to do. It's slightly disappointing that you have to use different software. I think in the future they definitely need to bump up the quality of their software for future releases. However, having said this, I won't have a need to buy another capture device unless this one breaks down over the course of the coming months. I won't need to buy another one for several years, hopefully. And I have used it for maybe 10 hours, and so far no problems. So that bodes quite well for me. Let's see how it lasts for the next 100 hours. Okay guys, thanks very much. Leave your comments below if you like this video, or if you like this product. If you're using it and struggling with it, ping me a message and I'll try and help you. And if there's anything else that you'd like to see on this. Thanks very much.